Democrats moved Tuesday to put the final touches on a deal to invest up to $2 trillion in social programs and climate policy, as they try to cap a months-long slog to pass their economic agenda. After days of talks among House, Senate and White House officials, party leaders sounded more optimistic than ever about striking an agreement. Top Democrats acknowledged a handful of issues were unresolved, which could trip up the rush toward a deal on votes in the coming days. Most of it has been negotiated, most of it is ready to go, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, the No. 2 Democrat in the chamber, told reporters about the bill. And we are just waiting for the last parts of the bill to be put together. We're hopeful that it will be done in the next few hours, frankly. Earlier Tuesday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told reporters that 90% of the safety net legislation is written. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who on Monday said his party had to resolve 3 or 4 outstanding issues, also sounded optimistic about reaching a deal. This week, Democrats are continuing to make important progress toward finalizing President Biden's Build Back Better plan, and we remain
within reach. Doing big things in Congress is always
coverage inking an agreement to invest in social programs and climate policy is critical for Democrats to forge ahead with their full economic agenda.
Hey guys, this is Tommy at Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
NIH usually, traditionally, provides the fundamental basic research that leads to proofs of concept that would ultimately lead to an intervention, a product, for example, be it a diagnostic, a therapeutic, or in the case of infectious diseases, a cancer in a vaccine. It's a research grant, but what you have is investigators, particularly young investigators, who would get discouraged into entering the field of biomedical research, and with a flat or decreased budget, the disincentive for new people with new exciting ideas coming into the field gets very, very markedly diminished, and that is a problem. In addition, there are some what we call programmatic initiatives or public health mandates that one needs to pursue, which you can't pursue because you're continually trying to have a delicate balance between fundamental basic research and applied clinical translational research. When you have an increase in the budget, you can satisfy both needs. You can keep a robust grant portfolio of new, in some cases undifferentiated ideas, bringing in young investigators. At the same time, is that you can pursue programmatic initiatives. With infectious diseases, it might be the development of a universal flu vaccine, or the development of a new therapeutic against a drug-resistant microbe.
This morning, U.S. intelligence officials remain divided over the origins of COVID-19. According to a report released Friday, one agency believes the virus could have emerged from a lab accident in Wuhan, China, but 4 others believe the virus actually emerged naturally from exposure to an infected animal. They also concluded that the virus was not developed as a biological weapon. Now, all agencies agree that China is hindering the global investigation and that an ultimate determination is actually impossible without their cooperation.
When you have a flat or a decreased budget, all of that gets diminished to the point that it can impede our ability to really stay ahead of the field the way we are right now. Industry generally does not do that fundamental basic research. With few exceptions, they are much more involved in the what we call the downstream aspect of the development of a product.
Yesterday, Joe Manchin met with President Biden and Chuck Schumer in Delaware to hash out details of the reconciliation package. Manchin, as we've covered on this show, has been an outspoken critic of the president's budget. According to the White House, the meeting was a productive discussion and Democrats continue to make progress. Meanwhile, Senator Kyrsten Sinema officiated a wedding in Arizona, and the nonstop protests that have dogged her everywhere followed her there as well.
Can I just make a compromise? We're protesting cinema. We're not protesting this bride. Let's just shut our mouths now. Let the ceremony begin. We can walk quietly with our signs. It's my daughter. I know. Okay. Please. Yeah.
And
some Democratic lawmakers are calling on the administration to reform or eliminate the filibuster so that Democrats can clear the path to pass voting legislation, calling the Voting Act necessary to counteract voter restrictions in Republican-controlled states across the country.
So NIH plays a very important role in providing the fundamental basic research that leads to the concept development that ultimately would lead to a product that industry would be better than any organization, certainly better than the federal government, in making products. So it is a good synergy between NIH scientists and NIH-funded scientists as an industry.
About that grant.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
So
let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is the agency that regulates big pharmaceutical companies, and it's funded by those same big pharmaceutical companies. Can you see any potential problems in the FDA being funded by the big pharma companies that it's regulating? The FDA used to be funded entirely by taxpayers, meaning it was sort of a public funded body, and I'm sure there was some room for corruption or whatever, but ultimately the FDA sort of was housed within governmental authority. Now it is increasingly funded by the institutions and corporations that it regulates. What kind of problems could you imagine that might lead to? The FDA has moved from an entirely taxpayer-funded entity, a one increasingly funded by user fees paid by manufacturers that are being regulated. User fees! This is our fee for using you. Today, close to 45% of its budget comes from these user fees that companies pay when they apply for approval of a medical device or drug. Isn't it mental? Like when people say this, oh, there's no way we can improve our systems of government. Yes, you can. Here's a few things. Don't have the FDA funded by the people it's regulating. Ban